Gargoyle Part I. I stood in the waiting room, looking through the window at the ocean of black mist. It swirled and curled, foaming as it washed up on the rising ground to my porch. I have been watching the mist regularly from this window for a while now. It is the only activity that soothes my migraine. It hurts. I managed to pick up this migraine a while back. A gnawing sound. At first it came and went. Now it is louder and incessant. What else could I do but carry on? Zip. Zoe's face appeared briefly in the mist, her eyes on me. The mist retreated, as if the tide had gone out. Clashing of stone and metal was heard coming from the foot of the distant mountain. I kept watching. Something was slowly moving towards the house. Ah, now I see it. An animate stone, stout, walked through the mist, resting a chunky metal mace on its shoulder. It paid no attention to the thousands of projectiles the mist fired at it. They just bounced off its stone body. The visitor swung its mace, parting the mist in front of it. It swung its mace again, clearing another path in front of it. It was a gargoyle that wore a lungi to his waist, bare-chested. He had 3 white horizontal lines adorned on his forehead. His neck had a slap of blue paint covering it. His hair, crown, and jewelry all carved out of stone. The gargoyle kept walking towards the house. Reaching the porch, he touched his heart with his hand. Greetings and salutations, custodian of this house. I am Marek. I serve the Mighty One. He pointed to the temple above my house. I touched my heart and gave a gentle nod. What can I do for you, Marek? I have come here to assist you, gatekeeper, Marek said. I watched Marek. He was smiling at the crescent moon that filled half the sky. Moonlight reflected off his concrete face, making it appear human. I did not ask for assistance, I said. Marek lowered his mace to the ground. Still gripping the handle, he pointed to the crescent moon. I was asked to come. I am here. Mortimer watched Marek, who turned his attention to him. A small crescent moon, etched just above Marek's brow, glowed. Moonlight hit it and made it glow for an instant. Marek clasped his hands and bowed to the crescent moon. I am at your service, gatekeeper. Whatever you ask, I will do. Please come in and sit. Mortimer will show you the way. Marek bowed, lifting his mace and resting it on his shoulder. He followed Mortimer into my home. I looked at the mist, waiting. It moved towards me like a tidal wave gathering momentum, suddenly dispersed several feet from where I stood. Zoe formed from the mist and walked towards me. A gait suited her slender frame as she glided, dressed in a floral dress that hung to her knees. A saffron shawl covered her bare shoulders. It matched the color of her trainers. Is it true the Mighty One sent him? She said. I smiled. She smiled. Yes, gatekeeper. I listen, particularly to their stories. I like them just as much as you do. An etching of the crescent moon formed just above his brow, I said. Zoe exposed her right shoulder to reveal a tattoo of a peacock feather. This is what happened to me when I heard flute music calling me, showing me which road to take, she said. Do you still hear the cowherd's flute? His words? If I become still long enough, I can feel his presence. Right now? Zoe shook her head. I long for it, but no. If he tells you that he hears the Mighty One constantly, then he is lying. Zoe touched her heart and gave a gentle bow before she disintegrated into the mist. I returned to the house to find Marek stood beside the armchair, and Mortimer in his usual spot on the rug, eyes closed. "Forgive me, gatekeeper. I do not want to sit, or I will crush your chair." I looked at Marek. His stone eyes brightened a little as he watched the flames in the fireplace. "Meet me on the balcony. We can talk there." Marek smiled. He was gone, straight out the front door. I used the stairs leading up to the balcony, where I found Marek perched on the wall. Wings wide protruded from his back, ready to take flight again, should he need to. "I would say you are gracious, gatekeeper, but you know as well as I that I would not be able to stand here if the Mighty One did not ask me to come. Instead, I will be a pile of rubble." I nodded. "Many come here claiming to be sent by one god or another, seeking entrance to the temple. If they are lying, they do not leave," I said. Marek looked up at the temple looming over my house. "When I am worthy, I will enter that temple." He turned and faced outwards, gazing at the distant peak. I stood beside him. Below, I could see Zoe watching us from the mist. "I will start at the beginning." Marek looked at me. His blue neck made a grinding sound as he turned. "I was not born. You know this. I was forged like everyone, matter fused together, but I had no sentience. Long ago, I lay on the bank of the Ganga River in India, high in the mountains. I am not sure how I got there, but I caught his eye as he strode along the river. He picked me up. It was like a current cut through me. I didn't have eyes, but I could see him smiling at me. I found myself smiling back, but I had no mouth. He exhaled. His air brushed over me, igniting me. I could hear his thoughts. He told me to go and live, forge myself with life. When it is time, he will guide me. He told me so." Marek smiled again. After he put me down, I lay there for a long while. I enjoyed watching. But I did not want to leave the riverbank so quickly, so I stayed there, watching, enjoying self-awareness. I watched fish crawl onto the sand. A huge beast stepped on me as it bent its long neck to the river. Then it rained. It did not stop raining. The river grew. It became so big that I could not see sunlight anymore. So I waited and watched some more. Eventually, the river dried up. I was there again, in sunlight. I heard him say, "It is time, Marek." That's what he called me. Slowly, I protruded limbs. I moved, learning to walk. From there, I kept walking. I do not tire, so I kept walking. The earth became white for a long time. And then, again, just like the river, it disappeared. And I found myself still walking, watching. Finally, I found others like me. They lived on rooftops, protecting temples. Marek laughed. He emitted a grinding sound. We would remain alert, but during the day, we remained still, as if frozen. At night, we would come alive. People thought sunlight made us statues, but the sun god is not that cruel. We can move freely, during the day and during the night. But some things need to be kept to ourselves. Am I right, gatekeeper? I smiled. When did you learn to wield the mace? Marek swung the heavy mace around like it was a lightsaber. I was given it by Lord Hanuman. The Mighty One sent me to him to learn how to wield it before the Great War. Yes, but I did not fight in the war. I stood guard at a sacred place. The Mighty One instructed me to prevent entry for Asuras, demons, and Devas, gods. I fought them all, pushing them back from this place. None gained access. Do you know where that place is, Gatekeeper? Merrick looked at me, accompanied by the grinding sound of stone against stone. I watched him. I could see the sentience behind his eyes. You are talking about this place, my home. It is the only temple of the Mighty One that not all have access to. That includes me, too, I said. Merrick nodded. Here, all are treated the same, based on their actions and thoughts. Here, there is no good and evil, light or dark. Just the soul, weighed up by its karma. This is how the Mighty One wanted it. As it should be. The one that whispers is threatening my home, I said. He is threatening all of us. I looked at the corner of the balcony to find Divine Mother stood there. She appeared as radiant as the crescent moon. Only a cool slipstream accompanied her, carrying tiny particles of water with it. Mother, it has been too long, Merrick said. He jumped down off the wall, landing with a thud. He stood in front of her, leaning his mace against the wall. He touched palms and bowed from the waist with a grinding sound. Divine Mother raised her right hand, palm facing Merrick. Be victorious in the battle to come, she said. I touched my hand on my heart and gave her a gentle bow. Divine Mother. She turned towards me, again palm facing me. Be protected. A radiance washed over me, fusing in the molecules that made up my body. I glowed blue for an instant. My body felt heavier, as if I just wore a plate of armor. Merrick, can you hear the whispers? Yes, Mother, but they do not tell me which door to go through, Merrick said. Can you hear them, Divine Mother? I said. No, Nape, but you can. I looked at her as she watched me, patiently waiting for me to figure it out, as she has always done. The headaches. She nodded. The beast is able to call all who walk in the shade. That's why neither Mortimer, Hamish, or I can hear them. We stand in the pale. Mother is correct, Gatekeeper. They would be seen the moment they set foot in the Whisperer's realm, like a lone star in the night sky. None of us would be able to leave, Merrick said. I cannot hear its words, only a sharp pain in my head, I said. It is because you walk the line between pale and shade, Nape. You can cross borders and enter realms even I cannot access. Listen, you will hear the whispers, but don't tread too far, Mortimer barked. Your friend is correct. If you stray, you might not be able to return, Merrick said. He will invade your mind, just as he did to the young Naga, Divine Mother said. I turned and looked at the distant peak. Who is whispering? I said. Listen, he will tell you his name. He needs you, Divine Mother said. I looked at her. Her grey eyes flickered with water molecules. She gave a gentle nod. I closed my eyes, reciting a mantra. Exhaling, I waited, finding the gnawing headache. I listened at what first appeared as discordant sound. It slowly began to make sense. Nape. Nape. I heard my name. He knows me well enough to use my nickname, I thought. I kept my gaze on the sound, following it. I went down 2 flights of stairs to the sub-basement, where I turned right. There, the first door on my right. Not just beyond the door, but that is another space in a different realm. In that space is a trap door that leads to the demon world. He is there. There, I know where you are now, I said. I'm not hiding from you, young one, he said. What do you want? Come to me, I will tell you, he said. First, give me your name. Andhaka is one of my names. Use it. Do not take too long to enter my realm, gatekeeper, or I will come to you, and that will be in carnage. I waited, listening. Be sure to come alone. Anyone who accompanies you will die, Andhaka said. Silence. My migraine was no more. I opened my eyes to find myself looking at Divine Mother, a pensive look on her face. You heard me speak his words? Yes, Snape. His name means the Blind One. He was born from the sweat of the Mighty One's brow. After severe austerity and servitude, the Creator bestowed on him a boon that nobody can vanquish him except one who wields sunlight, she said. Vivaswan, the sun god, has gone beyond the rim, Divine Mother. Divine Mother nodded. He likes destruction. He will not let you get to him without fighting off his hordes that you sent down there, Mortimer barked. No, you must stay and guard the doorway, I said. Divine Mother, we will not get far if we use that door, Marek said. Divine Mother looked up at the crescent moon. There is another way. A monolith on the first step beyond the threshold. She looked at me. I remember it. It is what brought me here. It is the only time that I have been beyond the threshold, I said. It will lead to wherever the custodian of the house needs to go, Divine Mother said. Did that mean I wanted to come here when I was on the first step with Keely and my son? I'm not sure I can accept that. I've been trying to get back to them all this time. Thoughts raced through my mind. Nate, we need to act, Divine Mother said. I followed Divine Mother towards the temple threshold, Marek and Mortimer behind us. Divine Mother placed her hand on the translucent barrier. It shimmered and then disappeared, releasing a powerful wind that blew around us. Wow, I said, looking up at the 1,001 steps that led to the tall temple above. Each one had a monolith, just like the one that leads to the abyss, only each one faced inwards, towards the center of the step. I could not take my eyes off the temple that appeared to be carved out of the night sky. It looked 1,000 miles up. Not many have been beyond the first 3 steps, Divine Mother said, her palms touching as she gave a gentle bow to the temple. To my right stood the monolith on the first step. Thoughts of Keely and Bub flooded my mind. I was on my back on the first step. Keely sat beside me with Bub on her lap. I had no idea how I got there. Bub leaned closer to me and whispered something in my ear. I didn't understand it at the time. Funny, I don't recall it now. Dada, I heard a faint whisper echo in my mind. I wiped my eyes before I turned to Marek. He was lost in his own focus, gazing up at the temple, his palms together. I turned to Mortimer. Watch over the house, old friend, I said. As will I, dear one. I turned to a tall willowy being that oozed blue fire descending the second step and walking along it towards me. Hamish, I said. I will watch over the house with Mortimer. You remember that sunlight can destroy him, he said. Hamish walked over to me and placed his hands on my shoulders. I looked up at his cerulean eyes. Blue fire crackled in them. You got to tell me what you are someday. Hamish smiled. Remember what I said? I nodded as I tapped my cane on the ground. He has threatened my home. I cannot let that go without comment, I said. Divine Mother gestured to the monolith. This is just as much part of the house as any other door. You decide where it goes. I nodded. I am with you, Gatekeeper, Marek said. I walked to the monolith and placed my palm on it. It vibrated with a low hum. I thought about the realm beneath the trapdoor. That realm appeared in the monolith. An old council estate. Tall, concrete buildings that housed working-class folk, only they were cooking deep inside a live volcano. Heat blew through the barrier. Nice, I thought. I am not a fan of the heat. I strode through, followed by Marek. He is here, the voice screamed. Fire shot at me. Marek stepped in front of me and took the blast. He didn't even flinch. End of Gargoyle Part I. See you next Sunday at 11. Don't die in your sleep. Godspeed.